Okay, we have a huge Manchester derby coming up this weekend. Manchester United host Manchester City at Old Trafford. This is going to be a very emotional game for very different reasons. Obviously, it's always a huge clash when these two teams get together. But after the passing of Sir Bobby Charlton, a true legend of the game, a legend of England and Manchester United, he was respected and loved by football fans everywhere. So Manchester City have shown their respect to Sir Bobby Charlton, and it will be a really poignant occasion at Old Trafford for the first Manchester derby after his passing, after he was so influential on and off the pitch around these games over the years. Coming into this game, Man United got that much needed win in the Champions League against Copenhagen in midweek. It wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination, and that's kind of how it's been for United in recent weeks. They have won 3 in a row in all competitions going into this games, but none of those wins have been pretty at all. They've just been grinding it out. But there have been some heroes emerging for Manchester United. And I think now it's all about, can they stay in the game against Manchester City? We saw in midweek the much maligned Harry Maguire getting the winning goal against Copenhagen. He's had so many critics, but he's put in some great displays in recent weeks due to a lot of injuries back there in defence. He's stood tall for Manchester United. And so has Andre Onana. Obviously, he signed from Inter Milan in the summer, replaced David De Gea. It was a big call from Erik ten Hag. And early on in his United career, Onana's really struggled with playing the ball out from the back, overplaying, making big mistakes. And that's really impacted their entire defensive unit, which was pretty good for most of last season once they figured it out under ten Hag. But that big penalty save by Onana against Copenhagen in midweek secured that big victory for United. And Erik ten Hag will be hoping that even though United haven't been playing well, they've just been grinding out wins and looking a little bit more solid and kind of like the team that he created last season. Yes, they looked a lot better last campaign with free-flowing football and the creativity, but I think that will come. And some of these new signings need to keep settling in at United. Amrabat, Mount, Højlund, they're all going to get better as the season goes on. As I said, there's been some severe injury issues for them to figure out. And now the next step for United, if they can stay in this game against City, how are they going to score goals? They have been struggling to score. They've come from some unlikely areas. Like I said, Maguire, Scott McTominay seems to be their new go-to guy in attack. But Erik ten Hag is happy enough, I think, with the trajectory of this Manchester United team heading into this game. They are grinding out results. Those are the kind of performances you need in a derby day. They know they're going to be up against it against Man City. So I'm excited to see if United can hang in there until 30, 40 minutes and then probably have a go before halftime if it's level. If it's level at halftime, I think Manchester United will be absolutely delighted with that. And then they can, restructure the team, bring on a few other attackers to liven things up in the second half, and then maybe have a go at Man City. Because we have seen over the years, even though City have dominated this fixture in recent years, the odd time Man United have surprised them. And who would rule them out doing that again at Old Trafford this weekend? As for Manchester City, I don't really think that they've hit top gear yet, but they're just off the top of the table with 7 wins from 9 in the Premier League. And, they had Kevin De Bruyne missing through injury from the opening day of the season. Dealt pretty well with it, which you would expect with all the attacking talents, Foden, Grealish, Julian Alvarez, obviously Erling Haaland up top. And they are just doing what City always seem to do. They chug along at the start of the season, have a few surprise results. And then when we get into this busy fall, autumn, winter, then into the spring period, that's when they really kick on and start going along. And we've seen that in the Champions League. Obviously, in midweek, Erling Haaland getting a couple of goals in that big win away at Young Boys in Switzerland. Obviously, they're almost nearly through to the last 16 of the Champions League already. I think Haaland in particular will be licking his chops with the chances that United are probably going to give him. And they've been let off the hook in recent games, given some of the opportunities to other teams, but they have to be so tight in this game because Haaland seems like he's out there to prove a few doubters that are just popping up and questioning him a little bit. He's out to prove them wrong, and his second goal in midweek was exceptional. And it's just going to be a really tough ask, I think, for whoever comes up against Haaland this weekend for Man United to stop him. City have had United's number in recent derby games. As we said earlier, they've won 4 of the last 6 in all competitions. But United did beat City 2-1 at home last season in this fixture. But things do feel very different now. At that period, United was surging. They were grinding out wins like they are now, but in a very different manner. And Erik ten Hag almost has to start again from the start of this season, given all of the upheaval around the potential sale of the club, new signings coming in, injuries. So this has a very different vibe, and it does feel like Manchester City go into this Manchester derby as the overwhelming favourites, when perhaps that wasn't the case last season. In terms of the key battles for this game, there's a couple areas I want to focus on. I think Haaland it looks like Harry Maguire is going to start again for United. This is an interesting battle because sometimes Haaland gets so focused on the physical side of it, and he comes up against a centre-back like Maguire, who's going to be right up against him, letting him know he's there. Aerially, he can compete with Haaland. I think this is where Erling Haaland will maybe drop and move and just try and find little pockets of space that usually sometimes he doesn't have to do, because a cross will come into the box and he'll win the ball in the air or he'll finish it. But I think Maguire can go up against him physically and match him pretty well if he does start. So that's a key battle just to see. I'm intrigued to see how Haaland moves, because usually he just stays very centrally. City want that. They get the ball wide, whipping crosses for him to finish. But I think he might have to do something a bit different in this game. So Pep Guardiola, for these massive games, always has a few tactical tweaks. And I wonder if Julian Alvarez is going to start up top with him and play a bit more in tandem to try and drag Man United all over the place. And another key battle I'm going to focus on is in midfield. Rodri, we saw how important he was for Man City when he was out suspended. They lost at Arsenal, and a lot of that was down to them not having protection on the counter in that game. And he's back for this one. Obviously, he's influential. He's going to start. Bruno Fernandes coming up against him. That is an intriguing battle there. Those two have gone head-to-head many times in recent seasons. And Bruno's done okay. He likes to obviously play those longer balls into Rashford and Højlund and whoever else is playing on the wing for Manchester United and in attack this weekend. So just look out for Bruno Fernandes dropping slightly deeper, trying to play in those channels and pockets of space in front of him. We know he can do that if he gets the time to do that. And it'd be intriguing to see if Rodri and the other Man City midfielders around him are forced to push a bit higher up the pitch than they'd like to be. And then that leaves them out of position and potentially City's defence a little bit susceptible on the counter-attacks. There's a couple of intriguing battles there to look forward to. Obviously, there's going to be great ones all over the pitch. It always is in this Manchester derby. And I think it's going to be a very good one. My prediction, as you can see on the bottom of the screen there, Man United 1, Man City 2. I think these games are always a lot tighter than we think they're going to be. United are in a decent moment confidence-wise. Yes, they're not playing great, but they're, like I said, grinding out results. I think they'll make this very difficult for Manchester City. And as I said, City aren't at their best. They haven't been at their best all season long, but they're just chugging along very nicely. And I think they'll get a big Derby Day win away at Manchester United. So you can see on the bottom of the screen there, head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com for all the latest analysis, how to watch information for this massive Manchester derby. We'll have you covered of all of the reaction and analysis during the game. So head over to PST for Manchester United against Man City. Always a big one. It's going to be a great game at Old Trafford.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock. And be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you there.